These are the only two trading indicators that I use to help me make over $10,000 per month as a day trader. And in this video, I'll break down the entire custom setup of these indicators as well as an entire strategy to teach you everything from start to finish. So by the end of this video, you will have the exact strategy that I use to make over $1,000 per day as a day trader. So this day trading strategy that I'm going to show you in today's video is insanely simple. It only has two trading indicators, but it will transform the way that you trade. You're no longer going to just be looking at the charts and having absolutely no clue what you're doing. Instead, you'll have a very set guideline of rules after watching this video that will basically tell you exactly what you need to do every single day. Now, before I show you the whole strategy, what I've got to do is actually show you the custom setup of these indicators. So the first thing you want to do is go over to your chart and go to the indicators tab. Now, the first indicator we're going to talk about is VWAP. When you search up VWAP, you're going to see volume weighted average price. I personally would not add VWAP auto anchored, VWAP ST dev bands, VWAP. I wouldn't add any of those, just the standard volume weighted average price. So add that to your chart. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to the VWAP settings. We're going to open up the settings tab and we're going to actually disable everything other than just this one simple line. The reason why is I only want to see that line when I'm trading. I want to make things as clear and as simple as humanly possible for myself and for all of you guys as well. Now that you have that custom setup done for VWAP, we have to add our second indicator, which is actually going to be the EMA. So let's add our moving average exponential here. Click this and add that to your chart. One thing that you're going to see, both of them are going to be blue. So go over to your 9 EMA and change the color to a different color. I like to do yellow. And so this is what this overall chart is going to look like. All right. So these are the two indicators that you need to have on your chart, your 9 EMA and your VWAP. Now, what these two indicators are essentially both indicators that are going to tell you exactly what price action is doing throughout the day. The EMA is going to stay very close to price action and show you the average price throughout the entire day, whereas VWAP is going to actually do something a little bit different. VWAP responds to the amount of volume that's happening in the market. So as you can see here, with this insanely large push, we're going to see VWAP get super steep here. When VWAP gets super steep, it means that there's a lot of volume being pushed into the market. Versus if we're just chopping and moving sideways, VWAP will start to get really, really stagnant, whereas the EMA will continue with the price. So I like to have both of these indicators on my chart because they're going to help me have an understanding of exactly when I'm going to get my entry. That's essentially what those two indicators do. But there's a couple rules that you have to have before you start taking entries with the strategy that I'm going to show you. So because VWAP helps us understand what the overall trend is looking like in the market, if we are above VWAP, I want to be trading to the upside, right? I want to be taking trades with the trend of the market. So on the flip side, if price ends up trending below VWAP, well, that means that I want to be taking trades to the downside. Stay with the overall trend of the market, right? So that is the very first rule of this strategy. Make sure you are following VWAP. And the second rule of this strategy is very simple. I only want to be taking trades if VWAP and the EMA are close together. So for example, in this area, VWAP and EMA are very close together. But once we get later on in the day, this EMA and VWAP are so far away from each other that these trades just aren't going to be anywhere near as valid. So for you to find a valid trade, you need to have EMA and VWAP be together and make your decision at that point. So if I scroll back, right, there's a couple of entries that we can find, and they're all going to be at points where VWAP and EMA are actually, close together, able to make a move and make a decision. You could even start to say like this is a pretty decent area as well. So we don't want to be trading if we're all the way down here on the EMA, but VWAP is all the way up here, right? This is what would have happened if you decided to go short in this area. We ended up pushing all the way back up to this area right here. So only take trades when you have an actual area where VWAP and EMA are both together on the chart. Now that we got those two rules out of the way, I need to actually show you the full strategy from start to finish. That way you have a 100% understanding of exactly what to do going into your trading days and how to use this strategy for yourself. Remember, this strategy is insanely powerful and it's not really that difficult. All right, so let's break this entire strategy down from start to finish. That way you know exactly by the end of this video, exactly what you need to be doing so every single trade you take just makes sense from here on out, okay? So let's take a look here. What we need to be paying attention to is not only, yes, I told you guys, we need to take trades at the actual areas where VWAP and EMA are meeting together, but we need to pay attention to something that's even more important than that, right? And it's going to be price action. We need to pay attention to what the candles are doing when we actually get to this point. And so there's two main strategies that I want to pay the most attention to. The first is going to be a break and a retest of both of these levels with a continuation. The second is going to be a push all the way up to one of these two levels, a rejection from these two levels, and a continuation down. There's two main things that can happen when we get to these two lines. You can either continue straight through or reverse off of it, right? It's your job to determine what price action is doing to actually be able to know at this point what's going to happen when you get there. This is where most YouTube videos aren't going to show you. They're just going to say, take the crossover of the EMA and VWAP and just leave it at that. But what I want to do is I want to break down exactly what's happening. That way there's no way you leave this video without understanding exactly how prices move. So now you know exactly what we're looking for: a break, retest of the levels and a continuation, or a push all the way up to the EMA and VWAP and a rejection straight down. So let's see how this translates over to the charts, right? All right, so let's bring this over to the charts so you can actually see exactly when to spot these entries. So first thing I'm going to do is show you the entry, then we're going to go over stop losses, take profits, all that good stuff. So based on what I showed you earlier, this is exactly what you want to be seeing: a break under VWAP, a retest of the VWAP and EMA, and then some sort of continuation down to continue that move to the downside. But how do we know that this is going to happen? Well, this is all based on price action, guys. You have to have an understanding of exactly why the candles are doing what they're doing. So let's break it down so that way you know exactly when to enter, right? How do I know to enter at this specific spot? Well, let's pay attention here. So this first candle comes up and has a lot of pressure, right? A lot of strength to the upside. Now, what we end up seeing is we don't end up breaking these previous highs, which shows that we don't have enough strength to actually continue pushing to the upside. And the second thing we see is a whole lot of momentum in this second candle here. Enough momentum to clearly push below this first candle and engulf the entire thing. Now, there's two main things that I want you to pay attention to when it comes to this strategy. And the first is going to be your wicks of your candle. The second is going to be the actual candle body itself. This wick here is going to show me one main thing. It's going to show me where the pressure is in the market. So if there is pressure, for example, in this area where you can see that we have multiple wicks pushing us down, that means that there's selling pressure in the market, right? Sellers are pushing this candle back down to close here instead of continuing all the way up and breaking highs. So when we see that, it gives us the understanding that there's a lot of selling pressure in the market. We already have that understanding when the market opens up. So we know, okay, there's selling pressure coming in. What needs to happen then is we need to see a lot of the second thing, which is momentum, right? So here is where we start to see momentum. The size of the candle bodies will determine the overall amount of volume, the overall amount of strength that is in this move. So as you can see here, this move is large enough to actually show a ton of momentum to the downside. Once we get a break in lows, that is my overall confirmation that we are probably going to make that continuation. Now, in terms of targets, right, I'd probably want to go to a higher time frame here. So as you can see, we have a lot of liquidity in this area, a lot of demand. So we can go ahead and mark out an area down here that we can use for our target, somewhere around this area here. Now, when we go back to our entry, one thing that we can see is if we put our target all the way down to that area, look exactly where the market goes. So that is exactly how you're going to use this strategy from start to finish using just this one system. After we determine where that price is going to go, we need to have our stop loss actually defined as well. Now, to have a pretty decent stop loss here, the one thing that you need to understand is a point of invalidation on your chart, right? So you have to make sure that your position is invalidated to get stopped out. No more of this having random stop losses on your chart. I know you most likely have been doing this, putting stop losses in random places. You don't know where to put it, so you're just like, here, right? I'll just put it here. This doesn't invalidate your position, right? We need to find something that actually invalidates your position so that you know specifically, okay, this is not going to go my way. So to do that, let's go ahead and put our stop loss over both the EMA and VWAP. We can both agree that if that comes up over those two things, we're probably going to stop out. Now, the most important thing here is that remember when we saw these highs, right? If we break over those highs, we're most likely going to continue in the same direction. So you can put your stop loss over these highs here and have a pretty decently good stop in this area above the 626.50 area. So this is a really good stop. And if you hold this position all the way down, you get at least a 3-to-1 risk to reward return, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, the next example that I want to show you is one where we come all the way up to the VWAP area and then we reject straight back down, right? We need to figure out exactly how price action is allowing us to do this. Remember, I'm disguising this indicator video as an indicator video, but the most important thing that you need to really understand is why the candles are doing what they're doing at this indicator. Stop just focusing on, oh, there's a crossover, so I'm going to take it. That's the reason why you're losing. Instead, we need to figure out exactly what's happening and pinpointing the exact reason why these candles are doing what they're doing. So just to show you exactly what I mean by that, take a look at when we get up to this VWAP here. What are we starting to see? A lot of selling pressure. Check this wick out. Large selling wick, 4 large selling wicks at this VWAP area. What does that show? It shows that sellers are getting stronger and stronger as we approach VWAP. And so what are we most likely expecting to happen? We're probably going to expect some type of reversal or a continuation over these highs. So we know that if we get a continuation over these highs, we'll probably continue to the upside. Cool. So what we'll expect next is a break in the EMA. If we can get a break in this EMA, we can start to find ourselves an entry. So what I would do here is I would wait for a very clean selling candle, one that doesn't have something like this, a lot of buyer pressure here, right? Wait for a clean selling candle. And once you get a smooth selling candle here, you can start to really make your decision. So for example, we have a close below the EMA here. So now we can start to think, okay, if this comes down here and it breaks this low, we should be able to continue to the upside, right? Stop losses in this situation can be set above these highs or above the VWAP. Either one works. So when we target this, all we're going to do now is see what happens. Well, we're already below the EMA, so what's most likely to happen? A continuation. And so what we'll do is we'll set our target. My bad, I didn't actually set the target. On your fib, you could put your target down to the 50% here. That's something that you could do. You can use fair value gaps, whatever way that you want to establish your target, right? I would probably just, if you don't have an understanding of targets, I would use a low of some sort, something like this. If you do have an understanding of targets with fibs, then you can use that. So I would target one of those two things. And as you can see, if you were to just hold this thing all the way through, you would get yourself a move all the way down here for 6-to-1 risk to reward. It's an insanely strong strategy that actually ends up continuing for the most part all the way down to this 631.45 area for an 11-to-1 risk to reward trade, all based on just this one simple entry. You can continuously use price action to do stuff like this. So for example, on this same exact area, just earlier in the day, you can see massive wicks showing that we're most likely going to actually reverse at this point. We're seeing a lot of weakness to the upside. Look at the momentum of these candles here. They're small. They don't have a ton of momentum. They're not showing that we're actually strong enough to push to the upside. So what would I do? I would wait for a break in both EMA and VWAP to show that we have strength to continue to the downside. When we get that break of both and a continuation, my stop losses are going to go over the highs or over these highs here. Whichever one you feel like is best for in terms of your risk, you would do. And in this situation, you could hold it all the way down to these lows, or you can find a deeper target down here at these areas where you see like maybe giant fair value gaps, something of that nature. So you can hold this thing all the way down and have a massive position. There's 2 positions back to back on just this one insanely simple strategy. And you can backtest this and do this over and over again. I've been trading with this strategy for over 5 years now. It is absolutely insanely profitable. And of course, this is the strategy that my students are using every single day. The same strategy that allowed Nick to get funded with over $1 million in capital just by understanding this very simple concept. It's not just the indicators, but it's actually an understanding of how the charts really move. Now, if you've been struggling and you've been stuck in this cycle of not understanding how the market really works, I'm taking 5 people personally one-on-one to teach them every single thing that I know about the market. I've been doing this for over 5 years and I've crushed it with over 400 students. These are all going to be results that you're seeing on the screen that have come from people just this week alone. And if this is something that you genuinely feel like you want to be good at, but you're struggling, you can't seem to get out of this cycle of losing trades consistently, not really understanding where to get information from, I've done this with so many people. So if you're interested in working with me one-on-one, go to the first link in the description and apply to join Simply Options Academy. It's only 5 spots for the month of August available, so I hope to see you guys in there. Let's see how many of my OG subscribers have found my secret account. Hope to see you guys all next week. I'll see you guys all later. Adios, everybody. Goodbye.